Go time.
Okay.
Cool. I'm closing the door.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're back at it again.
Yeah. Excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. So let's, I don't know. Let's give them what is this?
Well, this is the spiritual, not so spiritual podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm Natasha.
I'm Catherine, and
We are just avatars having a human experience.
literally I was in the shower this morning and I was like, I have to remember to say that we're just a meat suit. This is just, Catherine's just the name of this meat suit that I have,
Yeah.
right? And that, I don't know, we're going to talk about all the things. That's what this podcast is for, right?
Yeah. So we'll kind of like go into why we started this podcast. And this is a long time coming. Mm-hmm. I've had visions of being able to do this and to be able to sit here next to like one of my dearest friends, like family, is just like a dream come true. And being able to tape in a studio like this is amazing. Like the universe always shows up for you,
1000%.
you know? And it's like one of those little memes. It's like a lot of people say it's like a little cliche, but when you start really believing that the universe is only working for your highest good and like nothing's out to get you, no one's out to get you.
Dude, that I swear that's been the theme of the week, right? A lot of no one's coming to save you. You're only here torturing yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what we want to share, right? Is that our own journeys of what spirituality or this awakening. Look, I remember November 1st waking up and remembering the last thing I did on Halloween night 2020, and I'm just going to speak raw, is
Yeah,
I remember
let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Licking the bag of cocaine at a bar in the middle of COVID and throwing it in the toilet. And it was literally the next day that this journey began for me, right?
Well, and I think there's such a negative connotation to like drugs and alcohol, and like there's so much shame. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's so much shame to it, and it was kind of like what we were talking about before even starting this podcast. But everybody's just trying to do the best that they can. Even when I was out and I was like drinking and doing harmful things
to
myself,
Yeah.
I was only trying to feel better. And I think like dropping that shame aspect of it, and because I know I can fall into it, like where it's like I don't really want to talk about my past. Like I don't really want to. I mean, I have shame, I have guilt, not as much as I once did, but I don't know. I feel like we just got out of the eclipse. I woke up this morning and I can completely feel that like we're done with the eclipse. I was trying to like Google it and be like, is the eclipse over? But I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything like saying for sure that it was over. But energetically, I woke up and I'm like, yeah, it's done.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it's done. And
you have turned into the most magical fucking human, dude.
Same.
You are, well, I just want you to accept that for a minute, that like your gifts are just so beautiful, and to watch them and to be like, I mean, women say like, oh, we're good friends, and yeah, we're great friends, but literally we're family. And so watching each other, I could say, right, blossom into this version of whatever it is that we are now, because the contrast was the other side. We were on the other side of this before. And so we're just trying to create this space, right, to share all this shit, the eclipse stuff, what that means for you, what has happened to us, drugs we did, psychedelics. And let's be real, we drank the fucking Kool-Aid together. And the Kool-Aid that I refer to as Aya, right?
yeah, Aya.
Mama
Mother Aya.
Yeah. That was just one of the juices we drank. But it saved my life.
No, 100%. It just thinned out the veil even more so.
Yeah.
you know. And I think we like talk about like our spiritual awakenings and awakening, but like what I'm realizing is there's no right or wrong way to wake up spiritually, and there's so many different modalities and ways to get there, and this is such a singular journey. Like
Yeah.
you'll meet people that are like on your path, but it's like what the medicine that I need is going to be completely different from you and other people.
And so medicine, we refer to medicine in this realm as anything that makes or assist with purging, releasing, letting go, fixing, if we want to call it. But we also said last time we've tried to record this a couple times, so this is definitely. But we've talked about how it's not just one medicine that we may need on this journey of life and this meat suit and this human body. We need therapy. We need all types of therapy. We need maybe a spiritual guru or a shaman that you work with. Sound therapy,
tuning forks,
whatever it is.
Nature.
Talks, discussions, cutting cords, burning candles. I don't care. Whatever it is that you need to do, bathe in all salt. I don't care. And who am I to judge it, right? Mm-hmm. Your journey is different than mine, but to watch each other accept the medicine, accept the things that have been given to us, and then really be able to just blossom.
And share them, right? Like
blossom, dude.
I think that's a big component of this podcast is like, we both realized that there's so many great like podcasts and so many like lectures and TED Talks and all of these different ways to get information about like awakening, right? And you hear these great gurus that talk about like that moment in their life where they woke up. And I know for me, I'm going to speak for myself. When I would like see these individuals, I'd be like, man, like, how do you get to that? Like, they must have it like all figured out, you know, like they've ascended, you know, they just seem like they just got it all figured out. And what we are trying to do is there's like an in-between. There's like arriving, and then like what happens when you're integrating everything that is coming to you. When your life is turned upside down because you wake up one day and you're like, oh my God, like we live in a matrix. Like
my awakening just started. My portion started with just the fact of, I had gone to church and I was up, down in the Catholic Church and I kind of understood, but I never really paid attention, right, in church. And so my awakening started with a voice of telling me,
tell
surrender.
me what that, like, what do you mean when you say like voice? Like, let us know.
a voice. I've been through you as I listen to you talk about your guides. And I'm like, I don't have any guides. But then I started to realize when I got really, really quiet and really still, that the voices, the ideas, the thought, all these things that were just kind of ruminating in my head, but have always guided me as to what is I need to do next, or what I was calling to me next. My whole life has been that way.
Yeah.
How do I come up with these crazy ideas of as simple as the way that I dress, because I feel like I do that wild sometimes, and it matches what's going on the inside with matches kind of, I guess, the voice, the stadium in my head.
Yeah.
So those guides were like, the first thing that I needed to learn was what surrender meant. And so the word surrender kept coming up, and I knew that term, but did I really know what that really truly meant? I didn't. And then surrendering to just not living the life that I was, then that continued on. You know, I feel like I was led to the next thing and the next thing. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that I finally got to the moment where I was sitting in my backyard with Wanda, who I actually do sound with, which is amazing. And hopefully we'll have her on here soon to talk and share her story. But sitting in the backyard to the Matrix moment, right? Where I was questioning what this was, what I am, what I became the observer to this meat suit. And that was scary. And that's only been, I shouldn't say scary. No, it was scary.
Yeah.
It was definitely scary.
Things.
I cried. I was in my backyard. I rolled around on the ground. I laughed. I jumped up and down. I didn't know what what I was doing. I was just allowing. But yeah, that moment was scary, overwhelming. And then unpacking that for the last year and a half has been beautiful. But now to be able to say, like, dude, I hear the voices, and the voices tell me exactly what to do, and they don't lead me wrong. So my guides are there. My dad's there. My grandma's there. I can hear all the things. And when I ask and get really still and quiet, the answers come.
No, 100%. Like I look back and I realize I've had, and people say this, like I've heard it before, but I've had guides my entire life.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, the spiritual awakening journey has also been about undoing all of the falsehoods that I took. Yeah. Undoing the program, right?
That you were given.
That I was given.
By parents.
Society.
Church. Schools.
Institutions. Like schools. You know, it's the social construct, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I've always had them, but I didn't believe in myself. And I feel like that is what my awakening, like just realizing it right now, I think, this week. Just going back to like trusting myself. And
have you ever trusted yourself?
My soul has. It was so crazy. I was at work and I was getting on the elevator.
What do you do for work?
I'm
3D work.
My avatar is a nurse.
Okay.
Yes. I love my job. But I was getting on the elevator and I was just thinking about my soul, because I can now feel the identification with my consciousness, which you can also call soul, spirit, whatever. I can feel the separation of my soul and my avatar and ego, because my avatar is connected to my ego for me. And sometimes that splits, but for the most part, like my ego is connected to my avatar. And I was just thinking about being a kid, and I was just like, man, like I've just always had like this deep knowing that there's like something more, like something isn't right, or like there's more to life than this, even like as a kid. And I realize it's because like my soul is getting to have an experience through a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 12-year-old, and all these substantial like stages of my life, like adolescence. It was like my soul was like having this experience as an adolescent. Like I had all of this inner knowledge from like wherever, from the universe, but I'm having an experience in a 12-year-old's mind and trying to make sense of the world through this 12-year-old brain that also has this.
And also has the belief systems that have been told to you, people that have been an example to you, people that you were looking up to. So sometimes some of these fears and ideas that were essentially projected onto us that didn't even really exist. And so at the 12-year-old, you're trying to have this human experience
And make sense.
Yeah.
And my soul knows something. It's something else. It's tapped into this like infinite consciousness. You know, we talk about that, how when we're really in soul, we are like online. We're connected to this infinite knowledge, like all-knowing knowledge. And so you're a 12-year-old in this avatar.
So you're in the elevator having this thinking or this thought as you're going to work.
Yeah. Like I'm just like, you know, and I think like that's a big thing with this podcast. It's like we obviously came here to have an experience this is like Earth School. You know, we say it all the time. Like our consciousness gets to grow through this like matrix and 3D experience. And balancing that, right? Like I can be up in the air and tuned and tapped into consciousness. And we talk about fairy, being a fairy. But we did come here to be in this 3D matrix.
Yeah.
And it's balancing that, you know?
Yeah.
It's like this push and pull of like two worlds.
Well, and then once we have the knowing, right? Like now we have the knowing. So the knowing that we're this spiritual being or that we're this soul, and then we have to go to a Subway or the sandwich shop, or I'm going to be a nurse and do these things. And, and then you're like, how do we balance both? So I think that's what we're trying to share here, right? Our experience with it anyways, on how to balance it, what we did.
Yeah.
Some wild shit that we've done.
And we're learning. And like, that's why I'm realizing there's no perfect way.
No.
There's so many different ways.
Perspective.
And I think having the group of people that I have in my life, it makes this journey so much better. Like,
we're so lucky, Natasha. I know so many people in the spiritual world talk about how they were so alone, or that they didn't have anybody to talk to because you essentially feel crazy. I was talking to this week, I feel super activated, and I feel like I've been sharing all week. And so I was hanging out. I call her Psychic Jen, and I was doing a light session on her. And
tell the people what a light session is.
A light session, we have a Lucia light or Lucia light. I don't know which one is the correct term, but we'll just call it that. And it is a light that helps you. It assists with getting you into the meditative state so you can experience theta in a conscious state of mind. So what that means is,
I know, right?
It just shows you what your brain is capable of and what it can create, and
tapping into that unconscious mind, right? Like
Nicholas Tesla talked about it. Einstein talked about it. It's this space of everything, all the answers, whatever it is that you need, being able to get there.
The void we talk about.
The void. And meditation practice, right? It's hard. And, this idea of that we've got to look like this guru or sit there and do this in a meditative state is not necessarily how it's achieved. But once you experience that state of mind, honey, that's getting high on your own supply.
Yeah.
That is better than any drug I've ever done.
Yeah. I mean, meditation. When I realized that our bodies are a drugstore, like like dopamine, serotonin,
everything,
DMT, we can release that from our body, and we do. I mean, I remember realizing how addicted I had become to certain emotions that elicit certain chemicals, right? Like growing up in a fear state home, and then getting out of that and finding yourself addicted to that feeling. Or like, I know for me, there's times when
consciously.
You didn't
consciously
not even
know
conscious.
That you were addicted. Yeah, of course. But just pointing that out, right? That it wasn't even conscious, that we were just used to telling the same old story.
My stomach, I think I'm hungry.
Are you hungry? Or is it?
It was my guides.
And they're saying
you're right on, girl.
Right on. Keep going.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, but just for me realizing like, man, I have a chemical addiction, or did have a chemical
The story.
addiction.
We're addicted. We say people addicted to the story, addicted to the sadness, addicted to the, I don't know.
Let me recreate an experience so I can feel that shame or feel that fear. And then having to learn to be addicted to better states, right? Like to calmness.
And I will say, women, to me, it seems like my experience, a lot of us women were addicted to the idea that we were going to get this happiness from I'm going to say it like a man for me, right? That I was expecting for someone to come save me. And I was addicted to this idea that that was where it was coming from. And then I was searching through this pile.
Well, and also I feel like, I don't know, I was reading something on Instagram, like a meme, but it was talking about us as women, like we've been taught, like society has taught us, religion has taught us that a man is the answer. And I mean, because we have all these
To be complete.
archetypes that are male,
Oh.
you know what I mean? So you have God that is like male in Christianity. And then you have the matrix that says like happiness is experienced through like marriage or finding a man. That's like started to change, which is like great. But what I'm realizing, like as a woman, and even being like biracial or like a minority, it is important for me as a woman to have archetypes that are feminine and female. Like that is how I empower myself. You know?
Yeah.
Like I can't rely on or be waiting for, you know, God or Jesus to come out of the sky and like save me. You know? And when I start to realize that and I start to empower myself, I feel like my soul journey here on this plane is to come back to myself and to realize that I am the only source of my happiness and success. And I don't know if everybody has that journey, but I just know my guides have said like, this journey for you is about realizing that like nothing outside of you is going to complete you or make you feel good. And going back to the eclipse, like I woke up this morning feeling like, oh, it's done, you know, like the shadow aspect of the work is kind of coming to an end, and I can feel myself not so activated and so triggered like right when I woke up. But what I loved about this eclipse, which if you would have told me a year ago, I'd have been like, dude, like, I don't want to look at myself in the mirror. I mean, I don't want to see this. That's what ego death is. Like, I think we can get into like ego death and kind of share our experiences with ego death. But for me, ego death is just like seeing myself as I am, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent.
All of it.
And this shadow time, which a lot of people have been talking about it, like experiencing that, where those dark parts of yourself that you deem shameful for whatever reason come to the light. And my guides have just kind of been giving me like this picture of shadows, right? Like when we're kids, we see our shadow and we're like scared. We're like, what is that? Like that looks evil. And because of my religious trauma, like we talk about this all the time, like I have the tendency to want to go there.
Yeah, you say some like demonic, evil, and I just didn't have that. So for me, I mean, I had some, but it was never like that, you know? So when I hear you say that, I'm like, damn, that's so intense. Like,
yeah, my mind goes
movies
there.
You've been watching. Like, damn, that's all I think about.
Yeah, like I'll see, and that's what my guides have been showing me about how I've been looking at my shadows, so to speak. And it's like this eerie thing, but it's literally just my shadow.
Well, it's just the
It's
shit
like Peter
that you
Pan.
do.
Remember when Peter Pan was afraid of his shadow? Oh my God, I just thought about that.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, they're just parts of you, right? They're just some shit that maybe you do, some old habits, some shit that you're like, I'm not trying to be that way anymore. I'm trying to change it. I don't want to behave that way anymore.
I don't like this feeling. And usually that behavior is attached to some type of feeling or emotion that I don't want to experience. Yeah. And starting to be able to embrace those parts of myself, I think we're all on that journey, has been really beautiful. Like,
I don't think everybody's on that journey. babe.
I hope that everybody gets on that journey.
I hope so, but I don't think people want to. They don't want to experience that. They don't want to address the shit. Some people are stuck in the story. And I mean that with love, you know,
Oh, yeah.
that also I'm not going to say that a whole bunch in this fucking podcast because I need to stay authentic to myself. And I know that my heart and who I am is always in a loving place. I never
Yeah.
intend to
we were
hurt
talking-
anybody's feelings or anyone's
Yeah.
belief system. I 100% respect everybody, but the thing about this podcast is keeping it real for me and keeping it authentic to who I am and the way that we talk, and we catch up on our weeks and talk about shit and share shit and scare and cry and whatever. That's who I'm trying to be in this, you know?
No,
And
100%.
so
Same.
So I think
that's part of being authentic. What I'm realizing is I know that I'm not for everyone.
that, dude, and it's okay.
It's so okay.
It is okay that we're not.
To the viewers out there, it's okay if you're not for everyone.
No, it's
Like,
okay.
honestly. And I have to remind myself that all the time. Like, there was a time in my life where I had to be for everyone. Like, for me to be okay and me to feel like I have the right to exist, I needed to be liked and accepted by.
Which is how we became the fixer, which is how we became, you know, these women that maybe were in relationships that didn't align with who we really are because we felt like we needed to prove something. We didn't want something to fail. It's all these things, right, that we were forcing.
Yeah. And I was reflecting this week and I'm like, man, so many situations where I was willing to abandon myself for somebody else, to look good, to sound good. And I'm like, I was gonna drop a bomb. I'm done. I'm literally, physically.
We talked about this so fucking much, and I'm so
done.
me too.
But for me, that's like I have to create a space within myself that I am 100% okay with myself.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not, then it's going to be really painful when I'm rejected by people, places, and things.
Well, yeah, there was a moment that even I think that I was like, oh, I need to be even sweeter. And yes, I do need to work on that. Sometimes there's moments that I know that, but sometimes to the point I was thinking like, I need to completely transform myself and I need to be this, but that's not, no, I don't have to be for everybody.
No, yeah.
And it's okay to not be for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So
I'd rather be a friend to a few than loved by everyone.
I just want to love myself, dude.
Yeah.
I want to love myself. I want to be okay in my skin. I want the same for you. I want the same for anybody else. And then if we come together and unite, then, I mean, it's a win for me, right? But if not, it's okay. Well, it's a win either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like it's just a continual journey to learning to love yourself. And like what I'm realizing is like I have to be able to go to sleep with myself every night. And if I don't like myself when I go to sleep and when I'm alone, it doesn't matter like that everybody likes me during the day, you know? And I used to build so much of my self-esteem off of what other people thought about me. Like if, especially like in work, right? Like I'm doing a good job when somebody says that I'm doing a good job. That's how I used to feel. Like nobody's acknowledging the good job that I'm doing. That means I'm not doing a good job. Like I need to work harder. I need to like do more. And now getting to a state where feeling like I'm doing a good job. So yeah, it's great if other people say, dude, you did a great job or you're doing amazing, but not having to rely on that, like feeling like that for myself.
Good job.
I know it's hard.
It's hard. Very hard.
A hard but rewarding.
Yeah. So I think it's important that we give them a little backstory about us. We've done this a couple times too.
I know.
Just a little backstory, right?
Just a little backstory.
I was doing hair at a salon. You were the receptionist. Then you ended up becoming a client and a friend. And through that relationship, it's just my version. Through that relationship, I watched you get sober. And by that, I mean be done with alcohol. You went to AA. And I remember when you walked in my studio one day to get your hair done, and you walked into I had been watching your journey, right? As you got sober and were going to AA meetings and sharing, because we used to party together and drink together while we worked at the salon. Although we weren't very close, but then, we started little by little becoming close. You would always share your conspiracy theories with me. I always feel like that's important. Side note, because you and I don't know if we can even say names in this, but Isaac and Brenda,
we should totally say names.
Yeah, I think we should. That's silly to not say names. So we're just going to speak. Anyways, you guys were like, in my idea, like in my mind, like the craziest of crazy on conspiracies, which was.
What kind of crazy did you think we were? Like, were you just like, these people are insane?
I just didn't, I don't, listen, my soul was so shut off.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was going on around me. I was trying to just like survive. I was this mom, young mom. I'll tell my story later. Anyways, it goes on and on. But so I remember the day that you walked into my studio. I had this little private studio in Clovis. And I remember when you walked in one day, and it was just this, like, you were this glowing being. And I remember thinking, like, I want what she's got. And not just like, I want your dress. Where did you get it? It was like, it was just this beaming light of, I could see what the alcohol had done or was doing. And a lot of the times people will mistake you and I, like, looking, not that we look exactly the same, but similar, right? So being able to, you were the mirror for me, right? That I could see parts of myself in you that I knew that I too could feel that way.
Yeah.
So or at least I thought something in my soul told me, you want what she's got. And
which is so crazy, because right now, like, what's been coming up for, I think, both of us is like realizing that everything is a mirror.
Everything.
And
when the mirror, I don't like something in the mirror, then there's something here for me to do. Some work, some acknowledgement, something.
I know.
Or really that it's just not mine. Okay. So anyways, you walk in that day and I remember thinking, like, I want what she has. I want to feel that way. I want to feel free of that. And not that I thought that I didn't need alcohol to, work, but I used alcohol nightly, or I was at the bar in between clients. My 3D meat suit at the time was a hairstylist. So that's just kind of what I did. And it was just normal. It wasn't like out of the norm from the people we were around.
Well, yeah. And I think, like, that's just how we let loose. Like, the paradigm that we were in, that was how you connected with people. That's how you...
I turned into a different human being, right? I would completely different. So for me, it was almost liberating, right? If not, then I was sitting in my own shit and I could feel, I don't know, I felt chaotic and crazy. So alcohol was what helped me, loosen up or.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a depressant. It's a number. It turned down the voices in my head at the time that were, like, really negative. Or I perceived them as very negative, or I only paid attention to the ego voice,
Yeah. So that was the moment that I was like, okay, I'm done with alcohol. I wanted to be done with alcohol.
Yeah. It's kind of like, you don't even, like, for me, it was like, I didn't know that I wanted to be done with alcohol, but it's like, I'm done with this experience. Like,
yeah, that's right. And that's true. Cause in that moment, it wasn't that I was done. It was more like, I want what she has. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it, because how am I going to watch football? How am I going to go snowboarding? How am I going to go to anything if I can't have alcohol? I didn't even know what that was going to look like. So then I was like, how's that going to look? But it put that idea in my mind. And then my soul was like, I want that. So it was sitting in the back of my mind. Fast forward to Halloween, and then that's how the bag of cocaine, and whatever the fuck happened that night, I refer to that night as hot tub time machine, because I remember walking in the bar, and it was COVID, and nothing was supposed to be open, but when I opened up the door, it was like hot tub time machine. It was like jumping in there. It was 2019 in there, and I was like, I'm going in with a mission. Yeah. Little did I know that bar in Old Town Clovis was a portal for me.
Yeah.
And I never came back after that. The old version of me died that night.
Yeah, you say that a lot.
Died. And sometimes I think that, I I don't know, maybe the freaking Coke that I did do that night was meant to kill me and it didn't.
Trip out. This is why, like, we always joke about, like, man, if people thought about my thoughts, I would be in an insane asylum.
Seriously.
How about sometimes I'm like, what if I did die? What if I literally physically died?
Well, they talk about the NDEs, right? Near-death experiences. That's literally when something ends people. So I don't know. Maybe several times we were supposed to die. Maybe several times we did die, and maybe I did die that night. I did wake up that morning.
Well, and then you get into the different dimensions, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like you die in one, and you shift into another,
and then you keep going, and then it's completely different. You know, I also remember. So then it was like wanting this thing with alcohol, right? I knew that it was there. And then November 1st happened and I didn't really have a choice. Then I reached out to you and it was like, my thoughts were, first things first was when I went, I knew that I was going to tell my daughters that I was done drinking. And I knew that when I freaking did that, there was going to be no coming back after that.
Yeah, then it's like serious.
I'm sharing with my kids that this is what I'm doing. And so I started with my oldest daughter first. And when I did, she said to me, we were both crying on the phone. And I said, you know, I'm done with alcohol. I have to be done. And she said in the sweetest way, you have to do this. And I knew then that it was a problem. And, you know.
Well, and I think what this has been, you know, years of me realizing, alcohol is not in itself bad, right? Caffeine isn't, nicotine. It's how we're using it, right? It's like, I know when I was out drinking back in the day before really stepping into my spiritual awakening, I was using alcohol to fix something, numb something, check out. And my use of it was not beneficial for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Some people drink and they don't have that experience. And that's not my experience today. Mm-hmm. But back then it was like, I don't like the way that I'm drinking. Alcohol is not inherently bad, but the way that I'm using it is not beneficial to my life and to the experiences that I want to have.
Yeah. And I don't even know that I mean, my experiences with alcohol were, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I'm gonna have to think about that and how I felt about it. It's been a moment since I reflected on it like that, about obviously it did a lot of shit in my life that wasn't good, and I was running from a ton of emotions and myself. So yeah, so that night, you know, then, the next day I have that conversation and then it's like immediately, who are the people that I need to call? Who can I reach out to? Where do I go? First of all, when you want to quit alcohol, where do you go? And all I kept thinking, the term dry drunk, AA, cigarette smoking, coffee drinking, stereotypical AA meeting is what would come to mind. And that was scary to me. But then I knew that you were a part of the community.
Well, it's so interesting. Like one of the last binges that I had before even going into AA, like I was sitting with this girl and we had like a long night. She ended up staying at my house. And I'm like, you know, when you're out and you get that, dude, why is this person at my house? Like, go home. Like, you know, in the night before, we're just like so close and like
BFFs. You know, in the morning, you're like, get the fuck out of my house.
Trauma bonding. And, you know, for me, it was very
What is trauma bonding?
For me, it's like, okay, so trauma bonding for me is that like our whole relationship is built off of something traumatic that we both experienced. And if you were to take that traumatic event away, I don't know that we would have anything in common. And like, that's been my experience, you know? And I've realized that like, I even to this day, like I'm always expanding. So I realize like I might be really close to a person and then change so much. And I'm like, wow, like, I don't know that I'm that close with this person anymore, you know? Mm-hmm. And realizing that sometimes I'm connected to somebody just based on a traumatic event that we both experienced. And then when we take that away, like, what are we talking about? Like, are we talking about like future endeavors? Are we talking about like positive things that we want to do? Or is it like every time we come together, we're energetically charged by like the same trauma?
A divorce,
A divorce,
a death, a molestation, a rape.
And for me, because of my complex PTSD that I just barely got diagnosed like 2 years ago for me, you know, and I definitely like have moments of remission. I feel like I'm in remission right now. But that's how I was able to connect with people. Alcohol was like,
So wait, this
a
chick
way
was
that
in
I
your living
connected.
room.
yeah. So the chick
She's
is
in
yeah. And
your home.
I'm like, can you go home already? Like, you know, like the sun has come up. We have not slept all day. And, you know, we look at each other, you know, that when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, like, I don't even want to see myself. Like, what just happened? I don't like this version of myself. We're like, dude, we need to go to an AA meeting. Like,
You
that's
both said that?
yeah. And
I don't think I knew who. Wait, really?
yeah. And
Or were you still friends with this person?
no, I'm not, I
Okay.
mean, I never saw her after that.
You
evening.
didn't?
Yeah. And
Okay, got to give me names later.
I don't even remember her name.
Oh shit.
Like, it's
Where
like
did
I
you
met
meet
her
her?
at I met her hanging out, and then we trauma bonded or whatever, and
She came to your house.
she ended up staying at my house, and we ended up partying the whole night.
Did you go to the meeting together?
No, but we both were like, I don't want to do this with my life. And I don't know. I think like obviously I've known about like AA, NA because of family members. But I don't know. Like, I think my spirit was like, this is the first step for you.
Well, there's not
For
a
my
school.
journey.
There's no school. There's no place to go to learn how to undo this shit, right? So all we have, I mean, that's been around for since when? When is AA? When was AA formed?
1930s or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's school. It was non-drinking school, right?
But the fact that we both were like, we need to go to an A, and I didn't go. Like, I think like I had still partied after that happened,
So
but
it was
just that moment of clarity where it was like, I don't know why, but like maybe AA will help.
Yeah.
You know, because I had tried to stop drinking. Like, and for me, it was like I was not an everyday drinker. I was a binge drinker. So I didn't have to drink every day. But, you know, that weekend hit, and then I want to drink, and then drink too much to where I feel like I'm throwing up and I'm feeling disgusting and sick. And I didn't necessarily want to stop drinking, but I didn't want to feel that sick. Like, you know? So my attempt was like, when I went into AA, was like, how do I get this thing under control? How do I drink like a lady? You know?
Yeah.
That was, but I really feel like my spirit, what was supposed to be part of my journey was AA. Like, I learned a lot through it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't go to AA now. I think like my spirit just outgrew that institution, and it's so beautiful. I'll always have fond thoughts of it. But
Of course. But I think that's the other thing. When things are over, it's okay. Even relationships, it's okay. Even the boyfriend, the husband, the AA meetings, the hairstylist, the whatever
and that's
that
what
is.
we talk about, right? Like,
It's
how
okay.
I don't know if you had said this, but I used to hate change.
Yeah.
Like, it was so funny. Like, I was talking with some friends the other day, and I realized, like, ever since I was a kid, I've had, like, OCD kind of things. And it was my way of, before, like, alcohol, sex, and all of that other stuff, like, to feel in control. Like, so I would do so routine for me was, like, I felt, like, in control. If I do the same thing every single day, then I feel safe and I feel in control. And when you get to a place where you feel safe within yourself, safe within your body, then you want some change. And I hope that I'm not doing the same thing that I'm doing today. A year from now.
I don't want to eat the same things. I mean, I have my things that I love, but everything, I love change. I love when I'm just like allowing and I'm not trying to control it. And now the beauty of what this life unfolds and gives us every day is just a gift, right? Like, I don't know what's going to happen later on today. Look, we got this today. You got to be at an appointment later.
Yeah.
I got to run and do this. Like, it's just beautiful to be in the flow and let go of control. Right? Trying to control every aspect.
Well, especially when you've gone through trauma, like your central nervous system will not allow you to do things on a whim. You know, you're tense, your shoulders,
your fight or you feel sick, your stomach hurts, weird shit. Your body, this intricate, beautiful meat suit that I say all the time, tells us exactly what's going on inside all the time.
Yeah.
So, back to the story because I feel like it's important to share this story.
No, yeah. And I'm glad that you're keeping us on topic.
I don't know that we have a topic. It's all kinds of topics.
No, but that we're going to get to the ending of the story.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So then, I called you and it just happened to be that it was a women's meeting like that night. And I remember going to the meeting and listening to this woman that had lost custody of her baby, crashed her car. I mean, it was just this story that she shared. And everybody that spoke in the room that night, I remember thinking, oh, fuck, I can relate. Oh, fuck, I can relate. Oh, shit.
And what I loved about meetings was it was like one of the first honest places that I had experienced. And when I say that, it was nobody in there was trying to act like they had it fucking together. And maybe people that had years and years of time, feeling that pressure. But newcomers, people that like have been sober less than 30 days or people sober less than
a year,
they're talking about like the shame that they're feeling and like the insecurities that they're feeling. And they're not trying to pretend like they feel good. And it was the first place where I was like, man, like I really feel like I don't have to put on a mask here. And I never felt that in church. I never felt that with family. Before I never felt that with friends, work. I always felt like I needed to have some resemblance. I can't think of the word I'm trying to use, but that I had to look like I had it somewhat together. Like even when I went to church, that I wasn't as like I'm a sinner, but I'm not that much of a sinner. And for me, being in the rooms of AA, it was like, man, like I could really be honest and raw here and talk about some like really embarrassing stuff.
I know, dude.
Yeah. And obviously now, during this spiritual awakening journey, you can get to a place in your life where you can do that every day because you're not ashamed of yourself anymore. And you're not projecting your shame onto other people.
There it is. Right.
When I judge myself, I think everybody's judging me. When I hate myself, I think everybody hates me. And that's what I'm realizing, And
there's people that can relate to you. So to hear that, right, is probably freeing for them.
Yeah,
It's freeing for them.
And I think that's what this podcast is about. It's like talking about stuff that people don't talk about.
All of it, right? Or at least, I don't know. I don't know if there's podcasts out there that talk. I mean, there's all kinds of shit, right? I guess there is. But we just wanted to share our version of it.
And where we're at.
Yeah.
And finding the people that are where our people, because this is not going to attract everyone, but we're not trying to attract everyone. It's for the individuals out there that like maybe feel a little bit the way that we're feeling, or
one for us too. We get a lot of. There's a lot of.
This is therapy. For sure.
I was just gonna say this is therapy. I was gonna use a term therapy for us, that we talk about the things that happen to us and share. And
Oh my God, I just got the craziest idea or thought. So we always talk about like being able to shift timelines or like I can time travel to the past if I think of myself as a 3-year-old and I can go back and like be there and feel how I felt or a memory, right? A memory is like traveling to the past.
Correct.
But I was just thinking, I was like, we created this podcast because our past selves needed this. We're doing this for our past selves. Like,
we are who we are today because of the things we said to ourselves yesterday, is what I say a lot, right? And the things, yeah.
and I can say we both have made our past selves proud.
1000%.
You know?
It makes me want to cry to think about the past version, to be able to look in at today and be like, what? Look at you.
Well, and look at her with compassion because I used to like hate her. I love it.
I love it too. That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and AA lasted a few months for me.
6 years for me.
So good. I love that for you.
Well, I guess I needed it.
Yeah.
You know.
I went a few years. Well, no, that's not true. I only went a few months. Close to, maybe it was, I'll have to look back at how long I went to AA.
It was a few months because you did get a sponsor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. That's another story. And you know what's crazy? I remember our friend Brenda, she was the other one who drank the Kool-Aid with us that night in September. She told me when I told her, I was like, I'm going to AA, dude. Like, I got to go somewhere. I don't know. And I kept saying, what would I do if I was going to build a house? I wouldn't just go to Home Depot and start buying woods and doors and shit. I'd have to like watch a YouTube video or figure out how I'm going to build this thing. So I figured the only place you could really go to build a foundation
and you were looking for a new way to live. We both were.
Well, and you were the example.
How do I do it?
You were the example. So I was like, dude, I want what she has. Like, whatever that is that's going to make me feel better. Like, dude, take me fucking there, straight to AA in a limo, right? And and then Brenda says to me, don't be mad if that's not for you. Or don't be like, if this doesn't work out, it's not for everybody. Don't shame yourself. Don't be upset at yourself if this isn't the thing.
Well, and I think towards the end of my 6-year run in the rooms, when I was kind of telling you that like, dude, like, I don't know, like if I'm meshing anymore here. And even you gave me the same advice, right? Like, you don't have to stay anywhere that you're not feeling
and I'm
aligned with anymore.
I'm realizing that the things that we learn right along the way and the information that we pick up and then we spread it later and then we share it later, right? She gave me some beautiful advice or a perspective that I didn't even think of, which is that could just be the thing that you use now, the tool. It's like I said, when it ends and then it's okay. It served its purpose. It was amazing. It was great. I would tell anybody if they need to quit drinking, start there. I don't know.
What's coming to my mind is like, people get really reliant, friends, family, on a version of you. And then when that version changes, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And for me, when I left AA, like I lost a lot of friendships, and I kind of realized that was a version of trauma bonding because we were connected and related to each other only based on this disease that we're trying to keep in remission. Because at the time I thought of it as a disease and a lifelong disease, hospitals, institutions, death, like is what I really believed at the time. And I mean, I lost a lot of really close friends. Like I just started becoming friends with somebody like a really good friend. Like we were friends for 5 years, but we stopped talking because of me leaving AA.
And I think it was can I share freely? Was it a lot of people got upset when you decided to do like the psychedelic therapy or
yes.
I mean, cause then you were like back to sipping the juice and that you can't trust yourself, that you couldn't trust yourself. Cause if you did one drug,
that I would die.
that you would literally die.
You know what I mean?
And I went on a retreat bender for a minute. I don't even know. No, that's not true. I went to 2 retreats. And then after the second retreat, I was called to drink the juice. And then Mama Aya was like, come on. And I reached out to, and I don't even know why I felt like you needed, why.
I know.
It's interesting to think about that, right? Like
well, we say it all the time, like the medicine will call you.
Yeah.
Whatever that medicine is, like it'll call you.
It will,
and in this case, it was ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because I've always thought about doing ayahuasca. Like ever since I was young, like I just remember hearing about it and my soul was just like, my avatar didn't know what the F it was, but my soul was like, yeah, girl, like this is where it's at.
Interesting. I don't think I heard about it until, I don't know, within the last 10 years it was.
No, I've always wanted to go. And then that was one of the things where when I got sober, I was like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this medicine because I thought that I would like relapse and end up dead. And thankfully at the time I had a sponsor who was open to alternative ways of sobriety. And now I think of sobriety as becoming well. You know, some people are like, sobriety for them is like
not consuming,
not a mind altering substance.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like becoming well. And when I say well, not being a shitty human, not hating, like waking up in the morning and hating what I said or did. Like that for me,
that's
today
the
is
shitty
sobriety.
human part. Yeah. The shitty human. And I think for anyone, shitty human can mean different things, but it's the fact that you didn't feel, you didn't like the way you felt. You didn't like the behavior. You didn't like the actions.
And that's why this journey is so singular, because what's going to be okay for you and what's going to be okay for me and the world is different. But I have to sleep with myself every night.
Yeah.
I have to go to bed. And if my heart and my mind is not aligned, then I'm going to maybe want to kill myself. Like it gets to that level.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, you're like, hey, I'm going to go do this ayahuasca retreat. And I was like, dang, that sounds awesome. I was like, I don't know if I could go. And I sat with it, but my soul was like, you're going.
Shout out to Hummingbird Church.
Oh my God, Hummingbird Church changed my life.
Yeah.
Pedro Taita.
Changed our lives.
And I think it's really important to be aware of where you're taking sacred medicine.
Oh, yeah.
Any form of alternative medicine that is going to change and alter your perception, because you are in a very vulnerable place. And today, when we do any type of medicine, it's very intentional. And it's in a safe environment and it's with safe people, because nobody talks. I mean, people talk about it, but there are people that are taken advantage of. There are people that are harmed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's the same when you go out and drink, right?
Same thing.
Same. Yeah.
Same but different.
You need to be careful
who you're with, what you're doing,
and
what you're drinking, where you're putting your cup, all the things.
And thankfully you found out about Hummingbird Church, and then that's where we went and sat.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing experience. And in the future, we'll go into like our experience about that journey. And
in between, I have to share this story really quickly. Not really quickly, but I want to share this aspect of it because I think it's important when I share. In between drinking Aya and my awakening, there was a moment there that I remember getting in the shower. So for several months when I stopped drinking, I was just kind of locked in the house. It was COVID and, it was safe. So I didn't really have to do the normal thing at life, right? I was doing hair and then go home.
There's like so many people that are like COVID babies, or like they got sober during COVID. Like, what an interesting. Yeah. I mean, that I think was a collective way. Like everybody had to start going inward because you were trapped with yourself.
Well, I just went to this program the other day. Crazy that you say that. And so my daughters, 25 and 18 and 19, they told me they use the term Zandemic. And I said, because I attended this 21 Pathways here in Fresno, which was
Shout out to the youngsters for keeping us hip.
Yeah, shout out to they keep me young.
Dude, we have to have them on the show.
Dude, you have to. I have to. They keep me so young.
Yeah.
Well, they just keep me in these loops, right? So she said they literally on FaceTime with both of them. They're like, yeah, the Zandemic, and I was like, what? Like, dude, it was a known thing. Like, it was a Zandemic. Like, people were just taking Xanax and this craziness. So there was, a lot of people now that are in recovery because of that. But anyways, in between that time, I remember one day getting in the shower, and when I got in the shower, I turned on the water and I just, doing my normal thing, and I'm like aggressively scrubbing my head, and I was like, why am I being so mean? It's how I always washed my hair in the shower. And just like this aggressive, mean, fast, in a hurry, like always, everything I did was like, hurry up, hurry to go where? We don't have anywhere to
not
fucking
be with ourselves.
I have nowhere to be.
I need to hurry up or I'm going to feel shit.
Yeah. Hurry up and get to the grocery store. Hurry up and go to work. Hurry up and go to the bar. Hurry up and get home. Hurry up for Saturday. Hurry up for the next month. I can't wait till October. Can't wait till November. Can't wait. I'm in constant. So I remember getting in the shower and after I realized I was scrubbing my head that way, I heard the voice, and the voice was like, hey, slow down. Like, it's okay. And I closed my eyes and I started to feel, for the first time in my life, water run and drip down my skin. My meat suit was so shut off that I had never intentionally felt what water felt like running down my body.
And I think like it's so crazy, but most of society is not in their body.
I know.
I wasn't for the longest time. Like even to this day, like my guides will be like, you need to be in your body. You need to ground.
Well, that's the thing with all of us. We're so disconnected, right? Our cell phones, TV, stimulant, whatever, all these things, we don't even know what our own internal being feels like. The blood rushing through our body, our heart pounding, what our lungs feel like.
What our voice is and everybody else's voice.
Mm. So in that moment, that's when I'm like, my soul turned on. It was this like, the alcohol had been out of my system for like, let me see, that was in January. I don't know why that sticks. I remember thinking like it was January, and that was November 1st is when I quit drinking. So it was like 2 months free of, so 60 days free of alcohol. And then realizing, oh shit, this is something even more. Then, it spiraled and kept going after that. It was
the power of fasting, peeps. Like any type of fasting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I was guided the rest of the way. And I'm going to speak freely when I say I was guided, because I've been guided the entire way. On the next assignment after that was learning how to literally shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And I remember just hearing like, it's time to be quiet, shut the fuck up. Like, I didn't know what that meant. So, I mean, yeah. Anyways, we'll go on with that story another time. But that was, getting sober.
Yeah, I think what a great way to start this first episode, because sobriety was really the beginning of stepping into the void, I think. And
maybe because we didn't trauma bond at the very beginning is why this relationship has lasted, right? I think we saw things in each other, similarities, hair, skin, coloring.
Well, I know we say all this like all the time. Like we're part of the same soul family for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, just the physical aspects too. People question like, what are you? Are you half black? Are you white? Are you Asian? Are you Filipino? I've always been told that. So being able to meet somebody at that place where I was like, oh, I see myself in you. And, we didn't really share a whole lot at the beginning.
No. And I feel like thankfully our friendship has been one where, now we bond on like the excitement of what is to come and like the positive things that we want to do with our lives. And I mean, I know that they're like at the beginning of our awakening, like we definitely trauma bonded on relationships, right?
Yeah.
Like we both had gone through our own pretty hard breakup that like was a part of like breaking us open and returning us to ourselves.
That first relationship after the awakening.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nobody talks about that.
no, that's something.
That is because you're just so open and you're using
dude.
less.
I just wanted to be loved. And I thought, I thought when I swiped right,
I just want to share it.
dude, I swiped right on that one and I will never, I think I still have that photo. I should probably get rid of that shit. But anyways, the swipe right.
But nobody talks about, I mean, I really believe that heartbreak is one of the greatest way as a woman you can alchemize. And the beauty of breakup is for a woman, because I can only speak from a woman's perception. I don't know what a male's perception going through a breakup, but when I go through a breakup, it always brings me to myself.
I don't think people realize that that's what's happening though. It's all just to come back to ourselves and connect with ourselves and help ourselves through it. Mm-hmm. We have to realize that nothing is outside of ourselves.
Nothing.
Not a mom, not a dad, the parenting that we needed, not a friend, the things that we needed to hear from a friend. It's all, we have to learn to do it for ourselves.
It's so crazy because it's like this journey is so much about connectedness, but it's so much about isolation at the same time.
It is my mission to come to Earth and just have fun. This is the only planet Earth, as far as my knowledge. I mean, there's definitely other planets we could probably go to, but it's to come here and to be on this planet and have the best human experience that I can have from here on out.
Yeah. And sometimes I just get in that freaking cycle and stuck in the 3D to where this game is like such a big deal. And then I like sit back and then you say that and people remind me that like, hey, we're just here to have fun. And
Step back, change your perspective. Change your perspective. I always say, envision yourself being a bird or an airplane and looking down how tiny we are.
And this 3D matrix can be very serious. Like,
of course,
you can have whatever experience you want. If you want it to be that serious to you and that everything is such a big deal, like that is your free will. Yeah. That is what you can do. Okay. And I think the biggest thing that I've awakened to is that I am the source of my happiness. If I'm not happy, I have to do something about it. Like, nothing's happening to me. Like, I have complete control of what goes on in my life. And recently I was thinking about this last week about like, well, what about the people that are like locked up, right? Like, I say that like I was kidnapped and I don't know, my mind goes here.
I'm like, what are we going down this dark
what if I was kidnapped by somebody and I was locked like in a basement by like some person?
Okay.
And, you know, because a lot of people get mad. It's like, oh, people that are not being abused, like that's not their choice. They don't have a choice in that, right? And for me, it was like, okay, I'm trying to wrestle with like, yeah, I know that bad things happen to people and they've happened to me. But do I have any power in that? Yeah. Is there any part? And for me, and I won't speak for everybody has to go through their own experiences. Like, I've found the most power in realizing that like I can have a part in everything that happens to me. And I was just thinking like, what would happen if like I was locked in and I was being like abused and I couldn't escape, right? Like I couldn't tell myself, well, just change your experience, have a better point of view, like get out of there. Like I'm being held against
astral.
Yeah. And that's where it went for me, where it was like, I would have to find the beauty in being stuck in that cell and abused.
I mean, I don't know if you'd be able to find the beauty in that moment, but listen, there's some things that you could probably do if you did get kidnapped and they were holding you in a basement and you couldn't save yourself, that you would maybe, I don't know, disassociate, learn how to astral travel, learn how to do something else. I mean, what else would we be able to do?
Yeah.
Curl up in a ball. I mean, I guess, or if you could curl up and die, then that would be your choice, right?
Yeah.
But I think now that we have the knowingness, now that we know that we're souls in this body, you are just a version of me and I'm a version of you. And now that we know that, we have a choice and we can change, I think, our perspective, right?
Yeah,
That's what you're
our
saying.
perspective. I was so comfortable being unhappy for such a long time. And now I just know that, like, if I want to be happy, I have to do something about it. And, like, sometimes it's doing something every day where it's like, dude, like, I'm not liking reality right now. I'm not liking my experience. What can I do to change my perspective? Or, you know, maybe I need to, like, go take a walk. Maybe I need to be alone. I don't know. Just realizing that, like, I have power. Like,
I can change it.
I don't want to be a victim anymore
You're not a victim.
of my own experience,
Yeah.
you know? But I can choose to be a victim for sure, you know? But yeah, it was just interesting. Something I was thinking about this week.
I love it. A lot of thoughts this week. There's a lot of shit.
Dude, so much can happen in a week. And that's what I love about, like, we've had these conversations for the longest time, and, like, we have the best girl group of women that we just will sit down in our living room and just have, like,
There's some powerful women that are in my life, in
Which
our
they'll be on-
lives.
they'll be on for sure.
Powerful women, some amazing women, just the community that we have access to here is amazing.
Well, I feel like it's coming to an end.
Yeah.
What a great episode. But let's talk a little bit about, so we're located in Central Valley,
Yeah,
Fresno, Clovis, California.
correct.
And
Where can I find you?
well, you can find me online. I'm sobering.temple, and also Gouache and Natasha. I
Is that on Instagram?
Yeah, it's on Instagram.
Okay.
Do energetic work and release, helping individuals to release traumatic events and stressors from their body and connect with aspects of themselves that have been trapped and want to be acknowledged and seen. So pretty much time traveling back to events so that you can have a new experience and a new outlook on life in that event. And what about you?
I always say, I tell people now when I'm like, okay, my friend Natasha,
Yeah.
she has the ability to bear witness to your traumatic experience that you may need help through. And if people can even wrap their mind around what that is,
it's honestly so hard to explain.
it's hard to explain, but that's what it is. To have somebody in the room when something traumatic has happened to you, and let's say, I'm going to call you an angel, that you were an angel in the room there, and you can bear witness with them and then help that person change their perspective, release the things they need to do,
Yeah.
and, you know, change their life.
Well, and what I've realized too, I have to describe it, and it sounds so crazy, but it's pretty much channeling.
It is.
I help channel, and go back to versions of yourselves that are pretty much locked
if
up.
there was an incident here between you and I right now, and we were trapped in this room and something was happening, and there's an angel sitting in the corner that is bearing witness to what we're doing right now. And then to be able to tell us that they were in here and they saw and they validate your feelings and my feelings.
Yeah, that's a great way.
That's what you're doing. You're validating and telling them, I can see you. I know what you have the ability to see sometimes what they're wearing, what they feel like, words that they're saying, the temperature in the room, their age. That is a gift, honey.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing gift, and it's so beautiful, and you are so powerful. And
Thanks.
And so it's just, I love that. I love you. I love you too.
Okay, tell us where we can find you.
You can find me on Instagram. I am Sounds Like Catherine, and also Sounds of the Light. I do sound healing in these groups and individually. I am now realizing that my gift is to help people along this journey and guide them in a direction that for some reason God has given me this ability to, I don't know, study the information and then be able to say, look, this is what I did. And here's some of the people that I've used along the way. When I say used, I mean, used your gift.
Came encounter with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's unfolding. And, you know, this podcast, and I have a studio in Clovis, California, which is, you know, in Fresno. And it is through my 17 years of doing hair, and now these 4 years of this awakening, I was able to see that the entire time I have created this network of literally anything that I need or anybody needs, I think I have access to.
100%.
And I can lead you in a direction. So, yeah, and I'm utilizing that, and I love it. And
so many cool events coming up. She just hosted or was part of a community sound bath, which I went to. It was amazing.
I got this, I don't know, this idea, right? As I've actually, it was an idea, right, of creating these like community sound baths and just really bringing healing to the public, and collectively healing a group of people, or even activating people. And by that, I mean just popping them open a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I have some cool stories about that too, about activating some people and being able to do that. So thank you for this.
Yeah, this was so fun. We can't wait.
Third time's a charm.
Next episode. I know, right?
Third time's
they say power in 3.
Power in 3. I love you.
We love you.
Oh, wait. Thanks to Tyler and Ashley, too.
Oh, yeah.
This is their beautiful studio.
It's amazing. And hopefully Ashley, like, I don't know. I just feel like I see her
in the corner.
Part of this.
I do,
like,
too.
We need her energy.
We do. For sure. Okay. Bye.
Bye. So fun. So fun. Dude, best part of my week.
It's so fun.
It's just so fun.
I know.
But I'm going to really work on getting the mic to hook up to